Dr. Ashok Chopra, Associate Professor, Management and Commerce at Amity University, Dubai. So under international route to market, I would be focusing on explaining the concept of expansion routes for the international business, examine the strategic trade-off in selecting expansion mode or entry to the foreign market. I am going to discuss trade-related expansion routes, evaluating contractual expansion routes, elucidate investment routes of expansion, explicate strategy for selecting the expansion route, and lastly, I'm going to elaborate on the decision-making process for selecting the expansion route. So it's not that just straight away entering the market just like that. There has to be a strategy behind everything, and that would be my initial focus, followed by the various routes to enter the market. So beginning with international route to market. Well, there are specific forms of entering a foreign country so as to have an international presence and achieve firm's strategic goals. Friend, strategy is a long-term plan which is coming from the mission of the organization, which is taking a birth from the vision of the organization, a vision which the founder of the business has seen for an organization to achieve a particular goal in next 20 to 30 years. So mode of international business expansion is an institutional mechanism by which a firm expands its operation overseas. And the routes of the expansion have also been referred to as entry mode in international business literature. So first we will see what are the factors which are affecting strategic trade-off in selecting route to enter a market. Well, the first and the foremost is ability and willingness to commit resources in target country. Second, the magnitude of risk the firm is willing to take in its international expansion. Third, the type of return anticipated from overseas operation. Fourth, the extent of control to be exerted in firm's foreign operations. Fifth, the level of externalization of the firm's resources, including its intellectual property. And the last, desired flexibility of expansion modes. So coming to trade-related routes. Expansion modes that employ some form of trade to expand business in foreign country is known as trade-related routes to enter the new market. While trade-related modes are low-risk expansion mode, highly suitable for simultaneous expansion in geographically diverse countries. They are low-risk because we are not focusing on either branding or building the market to begin with straight away in a big manner. We are just trying to enter the market through some trade. So we are not focusing on building a brand or doing the marketing. And that is the main point which is to be noted in trade-related route. So the first trade-related route to international market is exports. In this, manufacturing the goods in home country or a third country and shipping them for sales to a country other than the country of production would be termed as export. In export, the most common initial mode of entry into the foreign market, as it involves much lower risk and is a low cost and simple mode of entry. Keep it in mind, in exports initially, the focus is not on building the brand and on making the product known in the market, because you are following the most easiest way to enter the market. The second route to trade-related entry is indirect exports. In indirect exports, selling through an export intermediary based in the home country and it does not take care of the export activity. That means company doesn't have to take care of the export activity. In indirect exports, the firm is not required to deal with the hassles of export operations, which could be documentation, which could be transit insurance, which could be special packaging required, or any other export or import license required. It needs a little international experience and much less resource commitment. In fact, in indirect exports, it may take place either through a home-based agent or through a merchant intermediary. These intermediaries are available in your home country, in third country, and many times in the country of import itself, who will take care of everything, right from picking up the goods from your factory and making it reach to the target country of exports. The next trade related entry is through agents. These agents do not take the title of the goods and operate on behalf of the principal firm, rather than themselves work on a commission basis. The types of export agents are importers buying agent, country controlled buying agent, and buying offices. The importer buying agents, as I mentioned earlier, are the agents who are in the country of import and they take care of everything. In many countries, it is country controlled buying agents who dominate the market so much because they have their entire distribution network in the third country where you are exporting the of the distribution within the country you are targeting. Or if you have your foreign office over a period of time, which is the next logical step, you can send it to your office, the foreign country office, and there they can distribute through the network of distributors which they have developed over a period of time. One of the most widely used under the trade is manufacturers, export agents, or sales representatives. These are the individuals, intermediary, who operate on a commission basis and travel frequently to overseas market and carry out the business in the name of the firm rather than in their own name. These agents specialize in one or few countries and offer their services to number of the manufacturers for definitely non-competing products. Otherwise, they will not be able to justify their position. I have personally seen this way of exporting your product works very well for many of the manufacturers. Continuing further, an important category would be overseas-based buying agents. These are foreign-based agents that have exclusive contract to perform exporting firms. Generally, the basis of specific percentage of profit and the cost incurred. Such agents are have shown one of the important categories. Another importer. The merchant importer is an overseas-based trader who imports product and further sells these to a wholesaler or a retailer for a profit within the country where he is based at, or the country which are nearby and has an influence on those countries. Merchant importer takes the possession and the title of the goods, therefore assuming all the risk and responsibilities thereof as far as distributing your product in the target market is concerned. An important category would be distributors. These distributors are the overseas distributor who purchase the goods and subsequently sell them either to a market intermediary or to the ultimate customers. These distributors have contractual agreement with the exporting manufacturer and deal with them on a long-term basis. So if you take the difference between distributor and merchant importer, you will find the difference is the basis of working on a long-term or on a case-to-case basis. So in order to clarify this point, I emphasize that it is better to look at distributors also because you would have a long-term commitment. One of the distinguishing category of selling your product into the export market is piggybacking or complementary exports, which means using of well-established distribution network of another company in the foreign country who can take product of yours or to whom you can sell your product or make an arrangement, and along with that company product, your company product also go into the foreign market. Only thing you need to ensure in this category is that the products are not of competing nature. Otherwise, the piggybacking may not work because you will be directly competing with the company whom you want to take as your piggybacking company for exporting the product. Going back to traditional methods, counter trade has proved to be very important category for trade related export. In this, various forms of trade arrangement wherein the payment is in the form of reciprocal commitment for other goods or services rather than an exclusive cash transactions or the transaction which is related to cash or similar way of doing it. In addition, trade financing and price setting are tied together in a single transaction, and it helps basically both exporter and importer. Exporter is able to export their products which they produce in the home country or third country, an importer is able to also export counter back the product he wants to export to your country, and probably it opens the door for both the companies to deal with another product, which definitely makes huge improvement as far as your bottom line or profits are concerned. Let's now look at the forms of counter trade. The most obvious one is the simple barter, which is direct and simultaneous exchange of goods without the use of money. Second is the clearing agent or clearing arrangement. The transaction of clearing arrangement type, in this, goods and services that extends an agreed period of time from both the parties. The third type is called switch trading. In this, trading involving a third party known as switch trader in the transactions to facilitate buying of unwanted goods from the importer and make the payment by cash or by barter to the exporter with the help of another product from the country you are targeting for export, and that country is targeting your country for export. In the same category, the next option is counter purchase. In counter purchase, a deal involving two separate transactions payable in hard currency, each with its own cash value, is the way to move forward. Buyback is the next logical way of dealing with such kind of a trade. In this, often used as a marketing tool to sell plant and equipment, where of literally putting your product across the many countries against the established player of that market through the virtual mode, in which you can tie up with a logistic or a freight forwarding company who takes care of the goods reaching the country where you are targeting to sell the product or from where you are getting the order, and the last mile delivery, which is the delivery to the end customer, is also taken care by freight forwarder or logistic company or courier company, and they take care of clearing your product into the country of export and then ultimately making the product reach to the target customer. After the trade related routes to the international market, now we will look at the contractual routes of business expansion. Well, making use of strategic strengths and resources of a foreign-based partner company for international business expansion is the logical way of contractual route of business expansion. In contractual expansion modes, the partner firms complement each other with one or more of their strategic strength, such as superior technology, strong brand equity, manufacturing facilities, well-established distribution network, etc., which makes both the party complement each other in contractual route of business expansion. In fact, with the logistic and supply chain playing such an important role, most of the companies target the export market by getting the product produced on license basis in the country of import itself and taking the advantage of strong brand name, and the manufacturer who is producing on your behalf under the license agreement produces the product and you are able to meet the obligation as per the local government requirement in regard to barcodes or particular content or a language or a particular label to be mentioned, all these can be taken care well by this local manufacturer who is expert in that country and can take care of such issues very well. The next important contractual route to business expansion or entry into a market is international strategic alliance. In international strategic alliance, cooperation with one or more than one firm overseas to carry out a business activity where each one contributes its different capability and strength to the alliance. For example, if I take UAE or Dubai as a place, Baskin Robin Ice Cream has tied up with a company called Galadhari Ice Cream. Similarly, Toyota has firmed up with Al-Futtaim. Nissan has firmed up with another company, which is Arabian Automobile. So each company looks the strength of their alliance in that country and accordingly choose the partner so to cover the market better and achieve their strategic objectives. An interesting option under contractual route to enter into a market is international contract manufacturing, where it is seen that the bigger brand pick up one of the strongest partner in foreign country and bring their manufacturing facilities through this partner. For example, Toyota selected in India a partner which was Kirloskar. Similarly, if we look at Singapore Airlines, they picked up a partner called Tata Group. They feel tying up with such a group can help them in the contract manufacturing or execution of the contract, either of the way. So I have seen that, in fact, if you see many of the brands which are famous in other country, they have a contract manufacturing arrangement in another country where these local company produce for them and send it back to their partner in the country they are operating from, so that they can cover both the markets, the export market as well as their home country market. On the lines of international contract manufacturing, there is also an option called international management contracts, which means if you are a strong company who are into consultancy business or engineering expertise or technical expertise, you try to find out in another country a partner who's locally well established and is doing a similar kind of activity, and you provide your expertise through this local company to cover the export market, and you don't do any much investment, and that becomes a very good option, or so-called a win-win situation or a synergy between the organizations. One can also enter the market through the concept called international turnkey projects, in which right from conceptualizing, designing, constructing, installing, and carrying out preliminary testing of manufacturing facilities or engineering projects at overseas location for a client organization is the way forward. If you see, the metro service in Dubai has been done by Mitsubishi in collaboration with a lot of local partners who supported them in terms of the platforms, the signaling part, the track part, the construction of the metro stations. So the international turnkey projects can be carried through multiple partners or through single partner who's capable of doing the total turnkey project on behalf of your company who's located somewhere else. An interesting option to enter the foreign market is through a method called international leasing. In international leasing, one makes available new or used equipment through a foreign-based firm for use in return for a fee called leasing fee. It is safe yet effective in terms of carrying out and entering into a foreign market without having much investment in that country. Another excellent way to enter a foreign market is by making available intangible asset to a foreign company, such as patents, trademarks, copyrights, technical know-how and skills, which include technical guidance, feasibility and product studies, manuals, engineering designs, etc., for a fee termed as royalty. Since this particular method covers quite large number of area, so it can be used very effectively in foreign countries, provided you have something which you feel the other country can benefit and you can enter that market. For example, if Tesla brings the technology here in UAE or any other country, India, Indonesia, Vietnam, etc., and gives a license to somebody and transfers the know-how that how this can be manufactured locally. For example, I think India has specialized in this in a big way in terms of getting the technology into India. I remember way back in 1989 or 88 when Suzuki for the first time came to India through transferring the technology transfer to India, and today we can see the progress it has made in terms of other companies coming and establishing their operations in India. Let's focus on major types of licensing arrangements. The first one is called process licensing. The process licensing is defined as the business arrangement wherein a company authorizes another company by issuing a license to temporarily access its intellectual property rights, that is manufacturing process, brand name, copyright, trademark, patent, technology, trade secret, etc. for an adequate consideration and under specified conditions. The firm that permits another firm to use its intangible assets is the licensor, and the firm to whom the license is issued is called licensee. A fee or royalty is charged by the licensor to the licensee for the use of intellectual property right. The second type is called trademark license agreement, in which the proprietor, the licensor of a registered trademark, gives authorization to another company, licensee, to manufacture and distribute products under this trademark. The license is given for a specific range of products, typically consumer and fashion products, for which the licensee obtains exclusivity in a distinct territory, typically a country. In exchange for rights granted, the licensee shall pay to the licensor a certain amount of money and a percentage of royalties based upon the sales value of the product sold under the license agreement. The third type is called cross-licensing agreement, which is an agreement according to which two or more parties grant a license to each other for exploitation of specific subject matter claimed in one or more of the patents each owns. Usually this type of agreement happens between two parties in order to avoid litigation or settle an infringement dispute. Very often the patents that each party owns cover different essential aspects of given commercial product. Thus, by cross-licensing, each party maintains their freedom to bring the commercial product to market. The term cross-licensing implies that neither party pays monetary royalties to each other, although this may be the case. Now I am going to talk about a very important and commonly used term called international franchising. International franchising is a special form of licensing in which intangible assets are transferred to a foreign firm along with methods of doing a business in a prescribed manner and other assistances over an extended period of time in return for a franchising fee. We have seen a lot of multinational companies like McDonald's, KFC, Pizza Hut, Domino's. They are using this kind of a method to make their product move across the world without having much of investment, and it is quite a safe method of getting into an international market. Among the three strategies for entering an international market, now I am going to talk about the investment route of business expansion. If a country is found attractive enough to justify a firm's long-term commitment, investment mode of expansion are often adopted and recommended as one of the best practices. So we will look at now what are the methods which are used under the investment route of business expansion. One of the important way of investment licensing route to international market is overseas assembly. In overseas assembly, export of components, parts or machinery in complete knockdown condition, CKD, and assembling of these parts at site in a foreign country is done. Let me explain in detail. A knockdown kit, also known as KD in short, is a collection of parts required to assemble a product. These parts are typically manufactured in one country or a region, then exported to another country or a region for final assembly. So, the phase which is called CKD, complete knockdown, in this, a kit of entirely unassembled part of products is supplied or sent to another country. It is also the method of supplying parts to the market, particularly in shipping to the foreign nations, and serves as a way of counting or pricing. CKD is a common practice in the automotive, bus, heavy trucks, rail vehicle industry, as well as electronics, furniture, and other products. Businesses sell the knockdown kits to their foreign affiliates as licensees for various reasons, including the avoidance of import tax, to receive tax preference for providing local manufacturing jobs, or even to be considered as bidder. For example, the public transport project with binational rules. The next stage or type is called semi-knockdown, SKD, or incompletely disassembled kit. Although it has never been assembled, is a kit of partially assembled parts of the product. Both type of knockdowns, complete and incomplete, are collectively referred to within the auto industry as knockdown export, and cars assembled in the country of origin are then exported in whole to the destination market, are known as built-up export. One of the important investment routes of expansion is an international joint venture in which two businesses based in two or more countries form a partnership. A company that wants to explore international trade without taking on the full responsibility of cross-border business transaction has the option of forming a joint venture with the foreign partner. International investors entering into joint venture minimize the risk that comes with an outright acquisition of a business. In international business development, performing due diligence on the foreign country and the partner limits the risk involved in such business transaction. Let's now discuss on wholly owned subsidiary. A wholly owned subsidiary is a company whose common stock is 100% owned by another company called the parent company. Whereas a company can become a wholly owned subsidiary through an acquisition by a parent company or having been spun off from the parent company, a regular subsidiary of 51 to 99% owned by the parent company. When lower costs and risks are desirable, or when it is not possible to obtain a complete or majority control, the parent company might introduce an affiliate, associate, or associate company in which it would own a minority stake. The next important method under investment routes of expansion is called greenfield investment. Greenfield investments are a type of foreign direct investment where a company starts its operation in the other countries as its subsidiary and invests in the construction of offices, plant, sites, building products, etc., thereby managing its operation and achieving the highest level of control over its activities. Let's see an example. Suppose there is a company called ABC Incorporated, which is having its headquarters in US. The company conducts a research to know the demand for its product in a country like India. After conducting the research in Indian market, it's found that there is a huge demand for the product of the company in India and it can get a good customer base over there. So the management of the company would decide to expand its business by creating a subsidiary company in India and starts the operation from the ground level by constructing new production facilities, distribution hubs, and offices, etc. The investment of the company ABC Incorporated in the other country by creating a subsidiary over there will be considered as a green investment. Now let's look at the strategy for selecting international business expansion route. There are 3 rules to the international business expansion route. The rule first is known as naive rule, the second pragmatic rule, the third the strategy rule. Naive rule. Managers follow the naive rule when they consider only one way to enter a foreign market. It is often said that managers who use the naive rule are guilty of tunnel vision. Sooner or later, they will be accused of either missing promising market or entering appropriate market using an inappropriate mode. The next, pragmatic rule. Most firms follow pragmatic rule, which causes them to adapt a policy of creeping incrementalism. In other words, companies start with low risk, low cost entry mode, such as exporting and contractual agreement, and then, provided their experience have been rewarding, they move to more complex mode of entry, such as investment. The advantage of this pragmatic approach is that it saves the time and costs involved in gathering, analyzing, and assessing information on alternative entry modes. This approach is a safe one for managers who are usually rewarded well for immediate success, no matter how irrelevant they may be to the company's future, and they are punished for the failures, no matter how important they may be to the learning process. But the cost of lost opportunity associated with this rather timid type of management is great. Future prospects that might have been identified through systematic surveillance of business environment are certain to be missed. Although some form of graduated entry is likely to be the best approach, the particulars of the strategy should be the product of long-term planning based on analysis of all the options. Coming to the third rule, the strategy rule is recommended here. Not only does it make the most sense, but it can be implemented in a short time with little cost. Applying the strategy rule to choosing a foreign market entry mode is the 3-step process. Step 1, find the feasible mode out of all the possible modes. Step 2, perform a comparative analysis of all feasible modes. Step 3, rank and choose the appropriate mode and implement it. I will now, in short, talk about marketing strategy. Marketing strategy and expansion routes. Well, there are two important marketing strategy. The first one is known as market penetration strategy. In this, firm focuses itself on a selected few countries and penetrate into every single segment in a quick manner. The second is known as market scaling strategy, when a firm either simultaneously or in quick succession enters the large number of countries. So they keep scaling strategy where they pick up the best segment they can address in that particular country. Let us now look at the sequential adaptation of business expansion routes. Well, there are 5 important expansion routes. To begin with, one can focus on platform countries, for example, Singapore and Hong Kong. Second, emerging countries. For example, companies can focus on Vietnam, Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia. Third, the growth countries. Example, China, India, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Philippines. The next logical adaptation should be maturing countries, for example, Korea and Taiwan. And the last focus should be on established countries, for example, Japan, USA, and Europe. To sum up, the decision-making process for selecting routes of international business expansion. Well, friends, the expansion mode strategy should aim at achieving a firm's strategic goals. It should aim at optimal harnessing of a firm's core competencies by way of international expansion. Thank you very much for your patience listening. I would now request to ask the questions if you have any. Thank you very much once again.
All right, now everyone. So thank you for listening. We are now in the Q&A part of our session. Our speaker, Dr. Ashok Chopra, is here with us. He can answer any of your questions you have right now. And maybe we'll pick a few questions. And then for any other else that would like to connect with Mr. Ashok Chopra, you can visit their booth at the arena. So I can see some people writing questions in the Q&A. Maybe Mr. Chopra can choose which question you would like to answer right now. There's only 2.
Okay. Well, there was somebody asked me a question and I replied during the presentation was going on. One was, how to pick up a particular associate in a country. And I said the best way for anybody to pick up the right company or a right organization would be always go to that country's embassy. There are special commercial and trade councils who can get you the right person. If you try to go yourself in today's world, when especially you have a lot of problems of fake, websites or companies which are so-called not actual companies, but they are only present on the internet, can create a problem for you. However, if you go to a commercial council of that particular country in your country, for example, I am in UAE and I want to establish business in Malaysia. So if I go to a Malaysian embassy and speak to the council there, who's a council trade or council commercial, they can help me to get the right person. That's how I entered when I was doing my business. By the way, I came to academics recently. Before that, I was having my own company. And I used to pick up companies by going to the commercial councils and asking them, who is the right importer and exporter? And accordingly, I used to pick up product and export and import. For example, when I wanted to export onion and potatoes to Singapore, I went to Pakistani council, asked the right person from where I can get the product, went to the Singapore Council and asked who's the right company, and I made it happen. I am an Indian, even then I could make it. It is possible. So that was one question I remember. Attend exhibitions, it is very good platform. It gets you the real people who are interested. That's another good way to enter any market as far as international fruit is concerned.
Those were also great. Yep, those were also great examples from Dr. Chopra. So there's no more questions new popping up. So maybe Mr. Chopra, do you have any last words before we close this session?
Well, I can only say one thing to all my fellow trade partners, whether exporter or importer, or the supporting companies which are into offering various services, that be genuine to your approach in handling both exporter and importer, and that will take you a long way into the international trade. Otherwise, you may do a trade and then it may come down because you have not been genuine in your approach. So genuinity pays a lot as far as international business is concerned or trade is concerned. I am saying as an academician as well as a person who was running his company for 10 years into export import. But I think age has come now for me to give it back to the society. So I left the trade and came to academics. So please be genuine to your approach so that people can trust you. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Chopra. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending this session. If you would like to connect with our speaker, please visit their booth at the arena. See you in the next session. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.